Well, to begin, my name is Amber Clark. I am the Neighborhood's Economic and Development Director for Meridian Township, and we are hoping to bring a wonderful series of activities for our small business community for Small Business Week, beginning September 13th and ending the 17th. And today I'm here with Teri Sand from Capital Area Michigan Works with the exclamation point.
Hello.
I am really excited for you to be here, and I'll shut up in a second, but I thought of you, Marshall Madel and I from Madel Consulting thought of you because you can now drive around in the Lansing region without seeing hiring, looking for. And I also talked to one of our local restaurants here, Blondie's Barn, and she's trying to do a catering opportunity for him or with Blondie's, and they couldn't even attribute time from their cook to come in an hour earlier because this cook is the only cook and they're there 7 days a week. So how do we alleviate that stress on employers and employees? Because now we know that is one person that's cooking all those meals, which is fantastic. It's great food. And that's what we're all looking for. But so that's my goal with reaching out to you today, is to kind of get a gist of what Capital Area Michigan Works can provide and does provide for the regional community, as well as some tips for our small businesses to be able to maybe try some new staffing incentives, either programs that they inspire their employees to find great workers, great employees, or just other things that people are doing as far as the interview process, maybe doing some virtual things. And then if you have some suggestions for what you think Meridian Township could do to help the small businesses in the region.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So let's begin. What is your title and how are you associated with Capital Area Michigan Works?
Sure. I'm the business services manager. So our team is working with the local businesses in Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham County and helping them with their recruiting and retention strategies.
Absolutely. So when you say the businesses in Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham, is that all they have to do is show up and say, hey, I'm a business owner in the region and I'm looking for help? How does one get engaged with Capital Area Michigan Works?
Certainly, yes. Calling or email are the most typical ways, especially right now since we're still working by appointments only at the office. So walk-ins are directed to the phone and the email as well. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It's basically that easy. Just let us know what's going on at your business and we'll try to figure out how we can best help you and what resources might be available to assist.
Got it. So what are some of the big resources that you would encourage a small business owner to participate in, especially for a small business week?
Yes, absolutely. Well, on the topic of recruiting, I'll start with the Pure Michigan Talent Connect website. That web address is mitalent.org. And even as old as it is, many businesses are still not familiar with it. It's the official way in Michigan for businesses and job seekers to connect. There is no cost for any user. The two main parts to that website are the job openings that the businesses have entered and the profiles that the candidates have entered. So each party can also search the other side and reach out as needed. So there's still a lot of businesses who aren't using that. And when you say driving around town, you see all the help wanted signs, often, that's one of the first things that I'm asking, what have you done so far to find candidates? And when they don't mention that, I certainly want to make sure they know that resource is available. And usually once they know how to use it, especially the searching candidate side, they're just amazed at how many candidates are out there they didn't have access to before.
That's amazing. So a small business owner, maybe I ran a bakery, was looking for, a chef. I could go on. Do I have to create a profile myself or can I just begin searching for an employee?
The employer would need an account. It does require your federal employer ID number for their company when they create that account. And then of course the name, address, phone number type stuff of the business and a person's name and email address to get the account created. And then once that's approved, they could do the posting as well as the candidate searches.
Wow. It's like a matchmaker it's like setting up like Matchmaker or Match.com. This is what I'm looking for. As an employee. I know a lot of times when we talk about job searching, a lot of people don't think of it, but it's exactly what it is. It's a relationship you're going to build between an employer and an employee. Is it trust? Is confidence building? Am I going to be able to use my skills and then further them on? So it is much of a relationship. What would you say to a business owner that has gone on, has found some matches, but still can't seem to encourage people to show up to hiring day? My husband runs the regional Lansing Stanley Steamer, and he says, I will talk to people, 10 people on the phone and get them on a time slot, and only one of them show up to their actual interview.
Exactly. And he's not alone, sadly. So he's probably not necessarily doing anything wrong. We can't solve that in 20 minutes, so I won't go down there. But some basic tips to start with that I hear so frequently when someone says that, got to realize where folks are in the world right now. We're almost all living by cell phones. So text the candidates first and foremost, as opposed to waiting for them to contact you or phoning or emailing. So use text. That's probably their lifeline. So text them as your first reach out, if at all possible. And also contact them often, right? Even if you maybe did have one contact with them and maybe the interview is next Tuesday or something like that. Find another way, another reason, anything at all. Hey, by the way, we're located, I just want to let you know where the parking is, or there's construction across the street, so I didn't want you to get nervous. Here's how I need you to enter. Whatever reason, or you're going to be interviewing with Sam, or whatever it is, find reasons to build that relationship you were just talking about. Find ways to stay in touch, connect with them in any way, shape, and form, so that if they are going to decide to take a different offer, or they're not looking for work anymore for whatever reason, they'll maybe share that with you, or you'll find that out sooner rather than later. But ideally, that's not going to happen. By building that relationship with them, they are more likely to show up and to follow through, those kinds of things. So many hiring managers, it's either age-old habits or the crazy busy extra stress they're under right now, just trying to keep their business open, that they're not doing some of those kinds of things. It does take time, certainly, but it should help.
Right. So does Capital Area Michigan Works offer any services, with their internal staff to help a small business owner if they are really busy and they can't seem to get the time together to schedule that? Is there a way to reach out to you to say, look, I'm like under fire, but I need help?
Yes, certainly. So that website we were talking about, it asks the Michigan Works staff to serve as their frontline customer service. So any form of navigating through that website, or creating an account for you, or posting your job ads for you, we are tasked with doing that. So certainly, first and foremost, yes. Beyond that, typically we reserve our services for full-time permanent positions paying at least $15 an hour or more. So depending on the situation, and I have a little bit of flexibility there. So, I would like the businesses to still reach out. Let's hear what's going on. What can I do for you? But generally, the highest level and the most intensive services that I can provide, we usually use the full-time permanent $15 an hour. But that might be some stuff like scheduling interviews for you, doing telephone interviews for you, doing the candidate searches on the Pure Michigan Talent Connect for you, and helping you with some of your recruiting strategy. So again, I want them to reach out. Let's find out what's going on. At a minimum, maybe I can send a job blast out, which is just, at least getting the word that they're hiring out to more people than their own personal and work channels. So we're happy to help in any way that we can.
That is definitely amazing. So what partnerships or regional task groups is Capital Area Michigan Works associated with that, some of our other small businesses should either make associations with or just keep their eyes open for those partnerships?
Oh, okay. Well, the first ones that come to my mind would be local economic development. So whether that's the particular, Ingham County and Meridian Township, something like that, or Lansing economic area partnership, LEAP they go by, anything to just stay in touch with business resources and what is out there for local businesses. The Small Business Association as well, the Small Business Development Center at Lansing Community College. Lansing Community College itself has lots of resources for businesses too. And I had made a list of lots of different partnerships that we're involved in, but they're not necessarily ones that every single small business might want to keep their eye on. Capital Area IT Council, that comes to my mind. Some of your businesses might be in the IT industry. So if they're not a member there, that might be something they want to check out. I think those would be, well, of course, the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce too. I think those might be the first ones that come to my mind.
Absolutely. And what trends do you think that you see with, like the future of employment? Everybody's been kind of asking, what is the impact of COVID? Conversation about COVID is like post 9/11. It's like we've had this experience, and so now we are going to change from this experience. And there are going to be some things that we've learned that are good and really work, and some things that's like, well, maybe we need to travel down a different road. Or do you see anything like that with employment in the region or just in general?
Sure. And every business is, of course, going to be different. Earlier, you were talking about a small restaurant. So something like that's very limited in what they can do virtually, right? They need their customers in person, or at least picking up their food curbside and that sort of thing. Whereas maybe an entirely different type of business, maybe a small law firm or something, they might be able to work virtually with their clients. So it's going to be case by case and business by business. But in general, I would predict that there'll be a lot more virtual working, or hybrid at least, maybe some working remotely and some days in an office setting. And there'll be a lot more effort from, and I think this will be pushed by the candidates, that they're picking companies and positions that will allow them that work-life flexibility, not only in their schedule, but also in companies that appear to be globally conscious with their choices and their environment and diversity efforts and all those different kinds of things that are really impacting a lot of workers' decisions on the type of work that they seek and where they want to do it.
Absolutely. You're incredibly right. It is not a world of this is my career because they pay me. It is a world of like, I want to belong to this organization, and I'm going to give them, 40 plus hours a week. So if that's what I'm going to give, I need to know that it's worth what I'm giving up. It is incredible to see that. And I think about when I started, my career journey, and definitely a few companies were talking about being able to do virtual work. But now the elevation of so many people saying they're not going back into an office setting, that they will continue to do their work from home, no matter what industry they're in, it is really amazing. So I think, fingers crossed, one thing I can say of the COVID experience as a parent is parent-teacher conferences should be virtual for the remaining years of requirement, because why not? Of course, why not? But then the other things, how do you interact? How do you hybrid for industries that need collaborative settings where you do a lot of discussion, even in government? How do we transfer into that spot of still engaging, still managing our projects, and still incentivizing people to come to the workplace? With government, I can say, even in and of itself, there are different industries, right? So putting out a job application for an administrative assistant is going to be definitely viewed differently than putting out a job application for a police officer. And police and fire, as far as our departments, are having a pretty tough time as far as recruitment, because of the level of training that is required, because of perception, because of just what's driving decisions for employment. It's very interesting. So I wonder, do you have any other suggestions you would give to industries that are kind of falling out of a trend of popularity? I would think, that there are trade schools. Michigan was pretty strong as far as trade and network, and having small non-vocational school trades offered that kind of education and those experiences. But then it kind of dropped down. And looking at what Governor Whitmer said the other day, seems like it might be a push to bring that back. So I don't know if you had any insight on those.
Sure. Yeah, that makes me think of manufacturing, but it could pertain to many other industries as well. When you're writing your job ads, you have to write them from the eyes and the perspective of the candidates that you're trying to reach. And this is a fairly new concept for most people. If you look at most job ads, they're still using quite an outdated method. So you need to write that into, what your typical day might look like, and put that in terms that is attractive and exciting, honest, of course, but there's ways to choose the right words that give the pictures So that person who might see that particular occupation title or that industry and think, well, that's not for me, or that's dirty, or that's repetitive, or that's old, get them to understand that it's not, if it's not. Videos are a new thing, and just simple little videos on your cell phone. You don't need an entire video production team, although you can, but most budgets can't afford that. So just using simple 60-second short little videos of what someone does in that role and including that link right in the job ad, so that person who thinks it's not for them, maybe they'll click on that. Oh, well, that's a little bit different than I thought. So just doing little things like that. And thank you for reminding me, because I didn't mention that earlier in some of the services that we can provide. Just being that critical eye to their job ads and making the suggestions of how to update their job ads to the 2020s, not the 1980s.
Right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Like, we've had this position since 1970. We haven't changed the description or qualifications or anything. Yes.
Exactly. If I may, your question also reminded me of something. It doesn't directly answer your question, but it reminded me. So another service that we provide is connecting businesses to training resources. And this time of year is the application period for the Talent Fund. If someone is not familiar, they need to get in touch with me right away. But a second way to apply for the Talent Fund is an industry-led collaborative, and members of MABA, that structure of being a member of MABA, might meet that definition. So it's essentially businesses that are collaborating with each other already and need the same kind of classroom training. They could apply together, and
wow,
that may be a second option to even apply for that same Talent Fund. So reach out to me as soon as possible if someone wants to pursue that.
That is thank you so much for that, because yes, we have a lot of like for like businesses within MABA. And the question is, well, if somebody, needs to train an insurance agent to go up to another series or something, and they don't have the money, how do they do that? And it's better for them. And so I really appreciate it. Do you have any other services that you can think of? And of course, you can't list them all. So we'll make sure that I would drive everybody to go see you and to go visit Capital Area Michigan Works. But do you have any other resources you can think of off the top of your head that are pertinent or things coming up?
We've covered the basic ones. So, first, what am I most often asked for is help with the Pure Michigan Talent Connect, help with those job ads, and reviewing a business's recruiting strategy. What are they doing? What have they not been doing? And how can they do what they are doing better? So all of those kinds of things are the most frequent. And then when it's applicable, just connecting them to training resources as well, and making sure that they know what's available there. Similarly, we're always sharing job openings with the job seeker side of Capital Area Michigan Works. There are staff who work with various job seekers there, and we want to make sure that they are aware of those job openings and opportunities as well. Sometimes those candidates are eligible for their next employer to be reimbursed for some of the costs of training them on the job. So we want to make those connections whenever we can. So the strongest message is, if a business of MABA is hiring, please reach out. I need to understand the specific situation in their industry and their business, and let them know the various resources available.
Wow. Well, absolutely. So I really appreciate your time, Teri. This has been amazing. And I was halfway versed. Like, I feel like I only knew like a quarter of what Capital Area Michigan Works does. And I know what it is. Like, I know this is a resource for anybody, whether you're a business owner, but if you're looking to provide your talent or you're looking to get talent, it's that connection. So I really appreciate your time. And if you would just remind everybody where to go on the website. Sure.
The web address for Capital Area Michigan Works is quite short and simple: www.camw.org. So C as in capital, A as in area, M as in Michigan, W.org.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, I'm going to stop recording.